We just heard the state's opening statement. Before we go back in for the defense, let's bring in our guest for this hour, trial attorney Mike Jaafar in Detroit, and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borchardt. He is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Good afternoon, both of you. This is a different trial, and we heard it in the opening statements. The first time around, of course, the prosecutor got to get up there and say, oh, and you're going to hear from a man that was hired by, or at least was attempted to be hired by, the defendant to kill a different wife in Utah. That's not part of this case. So, Michael, my question to you, from what you heard in the opening from the prosecution, your thoughts about this being a much more difficult case for the state of Nevada?
Yes, this is a much more difficult case for the state of Nevada, but that prosecutor threaded the needle very, very, very well. I was very impressed with the way he laid it out, but he's dealing with a difficult situation because here's the thing. We all of us here as pundits and as spectators know that, hey, this is the same type of murder as the prior one. You're clearly a villain. You clearly did. There's so many times, that us as pundits and people who analyze these cases look at facts that the jury cannot look at, and we think, hey, wow, this really stinks. And that prosecutor knows that, but he's got to thread the needle, and he is sitting there in a situation where the Supreme Court of his state just overturned a death conviction. I was like, this is very rare, right? So he's got to thread the needle. I do not envy him for his task, but he's off to a really good start.
Yeah, did a fantastic job. Michael?
No, so proving somebody guilty beyond a reasonable doubt is a very difficult thing for a prosecutor to do. And the prosecutor has been hampered now he's been handcuffed by the fact that he cannot introduce the most relevant evidence, which is this has happened before. This is a playbook that this man has employed, and he has employed it to have other wives, conveniently die, and he collected life insurance proceeds. He had the motive, he had the incentive, and this has been his playbook. So now that has been stripped from them. One thing I will say is, in the post-OJ era, during the OJ era, you could sequester a jury. There was no social media. There wasn't even any internet. You would consume your information based on the paper that you were holding, and you could sequester a jury and protect them from other information. That's not possible these days. All of those jurors, when they go into that jury box, they've all watched the documentary. They've all seen, they know exactly who this guy is. They should not look at it. They're not supposed to look at it. But that's the problem. This is an artificial construct now we have to go through in the judicial system. And that's just something that I'm really interested to see what happens, because I agree with my co-panelists. It's going to be almost impossible for the prosecution to mount their prosecution, without the prior bad acts. I want to see what the jury does, because I mean, at this point, this is a completely different world with this case being overturned, with social media. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, if a juror knows about the past, that juror is going to hold firm and see it, and they'll be guilty. But if you don't know, this is a tough one, and it'll be fascinating. You're quite the cynic there, Michael, saying that all these citizens get up there and lie, saying, I didn't see Keith Morrison. No, but I do agree with you. It's tough to get around when family members, everything else, they're not sequestered. We'll see.